Christmas.
Retribution had raided the donkey shop.
Okay, I mean, it's the story of Christ. This should be fairly easy to remember.
Oh, Andy. Andy.
Oh, Pete's forgotten already.
Wait, what? He died?
Those eyebrows, mate. Oof, they are. Hello and welcome to episode numero 5 of Calling Spots, a narrative telephone game. For those who don't know how this game works, let's break it down for you. One of the members of the WrestleTalk team has created a story set in the WWE universe and have recorded their story to camera. They send that story over to another member of the team who gets to watch that story precisely one time before they have to recount the story to the best of their ability. They then send that story over to another member of the team who gets to watch that story once and then retell their story, send it to the next person and the next person, etc. until everybody has gone. Then we all hop in a call together, point fingers and blame about where the story went wrong. The idea for this game came from the fine people over at Critical Role, so please go and check out their narrative telephone series because it's really funny. So without further ado, let's get into episode number 5. This time the story comes from Randy Andy Datson.
It was a cold winter's night, and Mr. and Mrs. McMahon were in desperate need of shelter. Mrs. McMahon was heavy with child, and on the road to Christi Bethlehemi in the hope that they would be able to find a hospital, or a room filled with straw and animal turds because that's also a sanitary environment. Unfortunately, the donkey shop had been raided by Retribution, and so Mrs. McMahon was instead forced to ride to Christi Bethlehemi on the back of another animal, Batista. Upon realising that hospitals were yet to be invented, the McMahons travelled to the local inn, but alas, all the rooms were full. "But wait," called the innkeep, "I have a stable." The innkeep led the couple round the back of the inn, and there stood the Shield. "Here you go, my finest stable," said the innkeep. "But that's just Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins and Renee Young's husband," said Vince indignantly. But no, there was in fact another, smaller stable behind the Shield which no one had seen. Phew, that was lucky. "Please, innkeep, does this stable have a manger?" asked Mrs. McMahon, who was panting, sweat and glistening upon her brow. "Naturally," said the innkeep, who showed them the stable and closed the door. "What the hell is that?" exclaimed Vince, as Paul Heyman was lying on the ground in front of them, arms outstretched. "We said manger, not manager, you moron!" bellowed Vince, festively. Despite the confusion, baby Shane was born not long after. The Midian wife believed it was possibly the shortest labour of all time, as the baby was so sweaty it just shot out of there, through a table. Just then, 3 kings arrived with a gift for the happy couple. Corbin, Booker and Barrett handed the present, which had been wrapped in Monday Night Raw scripts, to Vince. They all knew how much he loved tearing them up. "What's that on the baby's forehead?" asked King Booker while doing a spin-a-rooney. McMahon was shocked to see the scar on the baby's forehead. It was in the shape of a number. 1000 100. 1000 If only I knew a statistics expert who could help me figure out what that meant, said Vince, with a note of Christmas in his voice. "You called?" said a statistical voice from behind the kings. It was AEW president Tony Khan, but of course Vince had absolutely no idea who he was, and just assumed he was another Christmas present. "My Christmas angel!" exclaimed Vince, and you could tell he was thinking about Christmas. "Please tell me, what could this number mean?" Tony walked over to the child, who was thankfully wearing a WrestleTalk hoodie from WrestleTalkMerch.com to keep warm, and studied the number. "Oh, that's easy, that's binary. 1000100 is 69, said Tony, very statistically. "Nice," said Vince. "Nice," echoed the 3 kings.
It was a cold, crisp winter's night. Yes, 'twas Christmas Eve, probably. F*** you, Andy. And Vince and Linda McMahon were in Bethlehem. He made a different. He said something that wasn't Bethlehem here. It was Bethlehem. And Linda was very, very heavily pregnant with child, and they were having to walk to find shelter. The problem was that they'd looked for a donkey, but Retribution had unfortunately already raided the donkey shelter, so they were riding a different sort of animal, Batista. They made their way to the inn, and when they arrived, they spoke to the innkeeper and said, "Have you got any rooms?" And the innkeeper said, no, we don't have any rooms. And they said, "Ah, well, have you got a stable?" And he said, "Yes, let me show you." And he took them outside, and outside was Roman Reigns. It was the Shield. The Shield was there. I've made a ham fist of that joke. Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose, and Seth Rollins were there. He said, "No, I said a stable." And he was like, "This is my finest stable." And Vince said, "Well, this is just Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and Renee's husband." And he said, but then fortunately they realized that there was a smaller stable behind that stable. And Linda said, "Do you have a manger?" And the innkeeper said, "Yes, we do." And they went inside the stable and he shut the door, and Vince was shocked because on the floor was Paul Heyman. He said, "We said a manger, not a manager." Fortunately, the baby Shane McMahon was born without really much consequence because he was so sweaty he just slipped right out through a table. Oh my God. What happened after that? After that, they were visited by 3 kings, Corbin, Booker, and Barrett, who brought gifts wrapped up in raw scripts because they knew how much Vince loved tearing them up. And he tore them up and looked at the gifts and he was like, "Brilliant gifts." But they noticed at that exact same moment that on baby Shane's head was a sort of a birthmark or a scar of some sort, and they were numbers, and they said 1000-100. And Vince thought to himself, 1000-100, quite Christmassly. He went, "If only I knew a statistics expert who could help me figure this out." And then a voice came from behind the 3 kings and said, I could help you out. And it was Tony Khan. Unfortunately, Vince didn't know who Tony Khan was, so just thought he was another present. He said, "My Christmas angel." And Tony Khan went over to the baby and he looked at the scar and he went, 10000100. That's binary for 69. Nice, Vince said. Nice, the king said. To time, in your face.
It was Christmas Eve, and Vince McMahon and his wife Linda McMahon were walking through Bethlehem. Not Bethlehem, but Bethlehem. And they were looking everywhere for a place to stay. And they journeyed in, by the way, on not a donkey, because donkeys were all taken up and booked out, like an Uber on New Year's Eve. Instead, they had a different animal to ride into Bethlehem on, Batista. And they rode into Bethlehem and went into the first place that they could find and asked the person there, "Hey, we need a stable for my wife to give birth into." And he said, "Sure, I have the finest stable here in Bethlehem." And they walked through the door and there stood Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and Dean Ambrose. A wrestling stable. And Vince McMahon says, What? This isn't a stable. This is just Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and Renee Young's husband. I need an actual stable. How's my wife gonna give birth in Roman Reigns?" So the guy goes, "Oh, right, sorry, I thought you meant a wrestling stable." And Vince said, well, okay, we need a manger. And he says, well, I have a manger, says the owner of this establishment. He opens a door, and there's Paul Heyman sitting on the floor. And Vince is like, "Oh, God, come on!" I said a manger, not a manager, or an advocate, as I suppose Paul Heyman likes to frame himself. And then Vince says, "Well, quick, I need someone. Linda's going to pop any minute." So Linda lays down, and because Shane McMahon is so sweaty from birth, he just slides right out and goes smash through a table. And then, what's this? 3 kings have come to bear gifts on this wrestling nativity scene. It is King Corbin, King Booker, and King Barrett. That's a deep cut. And they come bearing gifts, and it's frankincense, myrrh, and whatever the other one is, wrapped up in raw scripts, because they know how much Vince likes to rip up the raw scripts and he says thank you, and he looks at Shane McMahon, and there's a little like marking on his head, and it says 1000100. And Vince's like, what does this mean? And he hears a voice from behind the three kings who goes, oh, I might know what that means. I'm a statistics expert. It's Tony Khan. Vince doesn't know who Tony Khan is, but he steps forward anyway, and he says, what you have here is binary code for 69. And Vince says, nice.
'Twas Christmas Eve, and Vince McMahon was travelling through Bethlehem. I was explicitly told to say Bethlehem and not Bethlehem, with pregnant Linda McMahon, and she was very heavily pregnant. She is about to give birth at any moment. So they were going through Bethlehem, not on a donkey, but on a different animal, Batista. You got it. And so they go to this inn, and Vince McMahon and Linda and Batista, they're traveling along, and says, like, please, I need to stay. My wife, she is pregnant. We must give birth. We must. The man says, I'm afraid we have no room at the inn. Vince says, but what about a stable? Huh? What about a stable? And the man says, oh yes, we've got one of those. Come with me. And they take him round the back of the inn, and there is Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and the man formerly known as Dean Ambrose, John Moxley. And Vince McMahon says, what are you doing? That's not a real stable. That's a wrestling stable. I need a manger. And the guy says, oh yeah, well absolutely, we've got one of those. He follow me, and then he opens a room, and there's Paul Heyman. And Vince says, what are you doing? That's not a manager, a manger. Also, he's an advocate. That does need pointing out. He's not he's an advocate. Anyway, that's not a manger. And then the guy says, oh, okay, sorry about that. And then he takes them to a proper stable where there are three kings, King Corbin, King Barrett, and King Booker. Boom, nailed it. And they have presents, gold, frankincense, and myrrh wrapped up in Raw scripts, because they know how much Vince McMahon likes to rip up Raw scripts. And anyway, Linda starts going heavily into labour, and then she gives birth, and oh, thank goodness, Shane, as he would come to be known, Shane was so sweaty that he just right out of her like a cork from a champagne bottle. And apparently he went straight through a table. And I think he survived. So through a table, and on Shane's forehead they saw some numbers. It was like 10010000101. And Vince is like, what's all this? What's all this? And then someone from behind the king says, oh, excuse me, I'm a statistician, Tony Khan. Vince says, who the hell are you? I have no idea who you are. And Tony Khan says, oh, that actually, I know all about statistics and numbers. That means 69 in binary code. At which point Vince says, nice.
'Twas Christmas Eve, not Christmas Day, Christmas Eve, and Vince McMahon and pregnant Linda McMahon were travelling through, I was specifically told, Bethlehem, not Bethlehem, Bethlehem. And they weren't riding on a donkey, no, they were riding on a different animal, Batista. Animal Batista. And they were travelling through Bethlehem, and they came to an inn, and Vince McMahon came up and said, oh no, I've forgotten this bit. Vince McMahon goes up and says, we need room, my wife is pregnant, we must give birth, she needs to do that now, she's really pregnant. And the man at the inn says, no, we don't have room, but we do have a stable. We have a stable. And Vince goes, well, okay, yes, take me to the stable. And they take him round to the side of the inn, and there is Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and Dean Ambrose, or John Moxley. And Vince McMahon's like, what are they doing here? That's a wrestling stable. I need an actual stable. I need a manger. And they go, well, actually, we've got one of those. And he takes them away again, and suddenly there's Paul Heyman, who's technically not a manager. He's an advocate, but we'll gloss over that little detail. And he says, no, not a manager, a manger. Adam did this really, like, thing on a Vince McMahon impression. It was genuinely quite impressive. And he says, no, we can't have Heyman because he's a manager. I need a manger. And he says, oh, we got one of those. And then I guess they get him one. Oh, and then by the manger are three kings, King Corbin, King Barrett, and King Booker. And they present their gifts of frankincense, gold, frankincense, and myrrh. God, I forgot what the actual gifts from the Nativity were. And they were wrapped up in Raw scripts because they knew how much Vince McMahon liked to tear up the Raw scripts. And then Linda McMahon went heavily into labor and she was giving birth to Shane McMahon. But luckily, Shane was so sweaty that he popped straight out and apparently went straight through a table. Got a mental image of a baby just shooting out straight through a table. And on the baby's head, there was a sequence of numbers 10010000101, and they were like, "Why are there numbers on my baby's head?" And a man stood up and said, "Hang on, I'm a statman. Statman." Who was Tony Khan. And Vince says, I don't know who you are, what are you doing here? And he says, I understand about numbers, and that sequence of numbers says 69, to which Vince McMahon went, nice.
'Twas the eve before Christmas Day, and Vince McMahon and Linda McMahon are traveling not on a donkey but on an animal named Batista through, I'm reliably informed, Bethlehem. Not Bethlehem, but they're traveling across this desert. I think it's a desert, and it's probably not. And they're traveling across, and Linda McMahon is pregnant with their unborn child, and thus they need to find shelter for the evening because of the heavily pregnant Linda. And they find an inn, and Vince McMahon walks in there and he's like, give me a place for my wife to rest and give birth. Can you not see that she's pregnant? And the innkeeper unfortunately says, I'm very sorry, Mr. McMahon. Of course, I know who you are. I watch Raw. We have no room at the inn. Very sad state of affairs. But I do have a stable. And Vince is like, fantastic. Take me to this stable. And so the innkeeper walks him to the stable. And at this stable is Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose, and Seth Rollins, the Shield. And Vince puts his hand and is like, no, not a wrestling stable, an actual stable. And he was like, oh, sorry, I misunderstood. I'll tell you what I do have. I have a manger. And so Vince is like, cool, take me to the manger. So with Linda McMahon in tow, they walk to this manger, and there stands Paul Heyman. And Paul Heyman's like, I'm Paul Heyman. I've been told that's a key detail. I'm Paul Heyman. And Vince says, no, not a manager, a manger. And the innkeeper was like, oh, right, cool, I've got one of those. And so they take him to an actual manger. And in this manger, Linda rests her weary head and her pregnant body as Vince kind of looks on. And in walk three kings, King Corbin, King Barrett, and King Booker, who got the presents of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. But they have no time to give. And they are wrapped in Raw scripts. Each present is wrapped in Raw scripts because Vince likes to tear those up. But before they can actually hand over the presents for Vince to tear open and get the goodies inside, Linda gives birth. She gives birth to Shane McMahon, and because Shane is such a sweaty boy, he shoots out as if lubricated hard. He shoots out and through a table through a table that was likely set up for the presents to go on. Bosh! The table explodes into a million pieces. And Vince and Linda rush over to their child, and they sort of hold him in his hands, and written on his head are numbers. Numbers. How very bizarre to see numbers written on a baby's head. And those numbers are 100011 10101. It's binary code. How on earth can they decipher this? Vince doesn't read binary, neither does Linda. Rat-a-tat-tat at the door. In walks in a statistician, and the statistician says, "I'm a stats man, but seriously, my name is Tony Khan." And Vince is like, "I don't need a Tony Khan. What I need is you to tell me what these numbers mean." And Tony looks at the numbers, the 100011 10101, and he says, "Those numbers are 69. And Vince pauses, he looks at Tony, and he says, "Nice. Merry Christmas."
Hello, welcome to the watch-along part of Calling Spots. This one was Andy's story, which, as we've learned, was rushed. Because he had an entirely different story to start with, and then he went, "Can't do that, let's do something else." So he's come up with something different for this one. I think it was good.
I
was told anyway.
We all feel really confident on this one, which is
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I
Probably
mean,
a bad sign.
so I was last in this list, which is obviously, it's my first time doing this.
hello,
Yeah.
Mr. Wrestle Talk. Yes.
Hello.
Great
But it
guy.
was so full of puns that I was like, oh, I feel like this has made it all the way from Andy's original video
here's
to my one.
here's my prediction. My prediction is that the story is going to be very similar, but there are a few points that people have missed, a few little kind of details that people have missed. So I'm
Andy,
just,
that's every episode of Calling Spots, mate. That's
Yeah,
the point
that's
you're getting.
literally everything.
but not.
My prediction is that some people are going to forget details that happened in the
Will
previous
adhere
video.
to the format.
But in most of them, there's at least a good chunk that is missing, or something that has been made up by someone. I don't think that's going to happen this time.
Well, let's find out. Let's see how this started. Let's start with Andy's story. Here we go.
Sorry about the fan.
It was a cold winter's night, and Mr. and Mrs. McMahon were in desperate need of shelter.
Is this your story?
Mrs. McMahon was heavy with child, and on the road to Christie Bethlehem in the hope that they would be able to
I
find
didn't get that.
or a
didn't
room
get
filled with
that.
straw and animal turds, because that's also a sanitary environment. Unfortunately, the donkey shop had been raided by retribution, and so
be
Mrs.
fair,
McMahon was instead
this didn't
forced to
make it
ride
to
the
me,
Yeah, no,
so-
there's a lot of this that's
it
not
to
made it.
animal, Batista.
That-
Upon realising that hospitals were
Junker.
yet to be invented, the McMahons travelled to the local inn, but alas, all the rooms were full. "But wait," called the innkeep, "I have a stable." The
When you're
innkeep
telling
led
a
the couple
story
round
to
the
a
back of
dying
the inn,
person, you've got
and
to
there
have
stood
a
the
bedtime.
shield. "Here you go, my finest stable," said the innkeep. "But that's just Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and Renee Young's husband," said Vince indignantly. But no, there was in fact another, smaller stable behind the shield, which no one had seen. Phew, that was lucky.
That's a good
"Please,
gag.
innkeep,
Yeah, I
does the
missed it.
stable have a manger?"
I did it, but
Good
I
job.
did
asked
it wrong.
Mrs. McMahon, who was panting, sweat and glistening upon her brow. "Naturally," said the innkeep, who showed them the stable and closed the door. "What the hell is that?" exclaimed Vince, as Paul Heyman was lying on the ground in front of them, arms outstretched. "We said manger, not manager, you moron!" bellowed Vince festively.
Vaudeville.
Despite the confusion, baby Shane was born not long after.
Who was
The
our
Baby
midwife
voice?
there, Andy?
believed it was possibly the shortest
Yeah.
labour of all time, as the baby was so sweaty it just shot out of there through a table.
Brilliant.
Just then,
Through a
three
table.
kings
By the way,
arrived with a
that
gift for a
really
happy
made
couple.
Pete laugh.
Corbin, Booker, and
amazing.
Barrett handed the present, which had been wrapped in Monday Night Raw scripts, to Vince. They all knew how much he loved tearing them up. "What's that on the baby's forehead?"
No.
asked King Booker while doing a spinneroonie. McMahon was shocked to see the scar on the baby's forehead.
Rooney
that's
didn't
it.
It
make
was in
it.
the shape of a number. 10000100. 10000100.
Is that actual binary?
Finally, I
Yeah.
knew a
You
statistics
actually
expert who could help me
find
figure out what
actual
that meant,
binary.
enough.
said Vince,
Some
with a
Googling
note of Christmas in his voice. "You called?" said a statistical voice from behind the kings. It was AEW president Tony Khan.
Because
But of course,
sure?
Vince had
Voice is
absolutely no
Andy.
idea who he was, and just assumed he
They're all
was another
distinct
Christmas
characters.
Christmas angel! Exclaimed Vince.
This is
You
like the
could tell
best
he was
audiobook
thinking
I've
about
ever
Christmas.
gotten with a
I was about to say,
What
has
could this
anyone
number
done an
mean?
audiobook of the Bible?
Tony
Because
walked
you'd
over
be
to
great at it,
John,
Datson.
who was thankfully wearing a Wrestle Talk hoodie from WrestleTalk.
Oh, is that what this is
to
based
keep
on, the
warm,
Bible?
And studied the number. Oh, that's easy. That's binary. 10001000 is 69.
Sorry, Andy, I almost
said
immediately
Tony.
got rid
Very
of the plug for
statistically.
WrestleTalk,
Nice.
WrestleTalkmerch.com.
Said Vince.
That's
Nice.
our lifeblood, Laurie.
Echoed the three kings.
I know. We'll put it on screen now.
And that's the story. Okay, cool.
'Twas
Oh.
the eve before Christmas
Look at this
Day.
guy.
and
Yeah!
Vince McMahon and
Christmas.
Linda
Mr.
McMahon
Wrestle
are
Talk.
traveling not on a donkey but on an animal named Batista.
Boom!
I'm
There
reliably
it is.
informed.
That's one gag.
Bethlehem.
Where did
Bethlehem.
Bethlehem come from?
Bethlehem
Bethlehem.
across this desert.
Oh, it migrated into
I
a
think it's the
different
desert.
joke of
And
like
they-
Birmingham.
probably not. And
Yeah.
they traveled
Yeah.
across, and
Was it supposed
it
to
was
be
very
Bethlehem,
clear
right?
it was
Pregnant.
Bethlehem. Pregnant with their unborn child, and thus they need to find shelter for the
We're to be
evening
pregnant with
because
their
of
born
the
child.
heavily pregnant Linda. And they some people are, and Vince McMahon.
But the
walks in
McMahons are
there,
different.
and he's like, "Give me
Like
a
seahorses,
place
they do it
for
a
my
different
wife
way.
to rest and give birth. Can you not see that she's pregnant?" And
Remember the
innkeeper,
details.
Unfortunately, says, "I'm very sorry, Mr. McMahon. Of course, I know who you are. I watch Raw."
Stalling,
And
stalling.
stalling at the inn. Very sad state.
Trying to
of
remember,
affairs,
what is
but
the story of
I
Jesus
do have
again?
a stable. And Vince is like, "Fantastic! Take me to this stable." And so the
Where's
innkeeper
the Vince
walks
voice? Come on, Mr.
him
Wrestle
to
Talk.
the stable. And
I
at
don't
this
do
stable
impressions.
is
it's a good
Roman
point.
Reigns, Dean Ambrose, and Seth Rollins, the Shield.
I genuinely nearly forgot he
And
was in the Shield as
Vince
well.
McMahon's like, no,
John
no,
Moxley.
no, not a wrestling stable,
No,
an
no,
actual
no,
stable.
no.
And Innkeeper's like, "Oh, sorry, I misunderstood." I'll tell you what I do have. I have a manger. And so
Is it a
Vince's like,
manger,
"Cool,
though?
Take me to the manger.
Is it a manger,
So
Adam?
With Linda McMahon in tow, they
Oh.
walk to this
Oh.
manger,
Oh.
and there stands
Oh.
Paul Heyman.
Heyman!
Paul Heyman's
What's
like,
this
"Brr,
innkeeper
I'm Paul
playing at?"
Heyman. It's a key
I'm
detail.
sorry, Paul Heyman did
I'm
what?
Paul Heyman.
That's
And
what you
Vince
did in
says,
your
"No,
video.
no,
It was all
not
like,
a manger. A
No, I
manger."
said manger,
And
not
the innkeeper's like,
advocate.
"Oh, right, cool. I've got one of those." And so they take him to an actual manger. And in this manger, Linda rests her weary head and her pregnant
forgot what a
body as
manger
Vince
is.
kind of looks
So I think
at
that's
this.
actually where the
They
baby
walk
goes.
Three kings.
You don't
King
give
Corbin,
birth in the manger, do
King
you?
No, I know.
Barrett,
That's what I forgot.
I'd love it
King
if
Book,
I mean, a
Linda was
manger is also
lying
just
in
the
the
thing where
manger.
hay goes,
frankincense,
right?
and
Like,
myrrh. But
The
they
trough
have
for
no
hay.
time.
The present
to
turned
give,
into gold
and they are
frankincense and
wrapped
myrrh. I
in
think
raw scripts that each president is wrapped
my
in.
original
They
story-
like to tear those up.
in my
Yeah, I forgot
original
about
story,
that.
it was a new Saudi Arabia thing.
But before they can actually hand over the presents for Vince to tear open and get the
Also, you
goodies
missed
inside,
Midian wife.
Linda
Yeah, I
gives
love
birth.
that.
Oh, yeah.
She
That was
gives
one of me.
birth
That's a
to
bloody good
Shane
gag.
McMahon. And because Shane is such a sweaty boy,
good at
he
gagging.
shoots out
It's good that
as
we've
if
dumped
lubricated hard.
Pretty,
It
consistently
shoots
on
out
Shane. That's
and
good.
through
Oh,
a
yeah.
table. Through a
Yes,
table.
table
that was
bound.
like
there
the
we
setup
go.
for the
Through a
presidents to
table.
Go on. Bosh! The table explodes into a million pieces. And Vince and Linda rush
tables
over to
sound
his
like
dead
when they
child,
break.
and sort of hold him in his hands, and written on
Buttery
his
biscuit
head
base.
are numbers.
What are
Numbers. How very bizarre to see numbers
So bizarre.
of babies' heads. And
Can
those
you
numbers
believe it?
are 100011 10101. It's
Oh,
all
this is-
Okay, so
Why are you
Are you doing a
Why-
reference to a
so-
band again?
decipher
Yeah, that's a
this.
clutch
Vince
song.
doesn't
That was a Limp Bizkit song.
0011
Linda
10101. It's the only
rat-a-tat-tat
binary
at
I
the door.
know.
In walks in
My story was
Make up
actually
numbers.
statistician.
all a
And
Limp
the
Bizkit
statistician
song.
says,
the only
stats
binary I
and
know.
skibidi-bidi-bidi-bidi-bidi-bidi.
Wait, what? Wait,
He's
wait,
a
wait,
stats
wait.
man. That was in
A
Pete's
tone
video.
card,
He's a
but I
stats
needed
man.
you to tell us
Scatting.
what these numbers mean.
Not stats
Yeah.
man
Tony
like ass
looks
man,
at the
but
numbers.
stats
No,
man like
no,
a
stat is in
scat
Scats Man.
10101, and he says, "Those numbers are 69." And Vince pauses. He looks at Tony and he says, "Nice. Merry Christmas."
No,
And
can you
There
believe
it
it?
is.
Quite a
Can
lot
you believe it?
I think the person who messed that up was me.
Yeah, how does
Yeah,
it feel to
probably,
be
yeah.
worst at your own story?
I mean, the problem is you hinged it on a very well-known story.
Possibly the most well-known story.
The plot points
Yeah.
are quite
Yeah.
easy to remember.
It could not have been a more well-known story. I'm trying to think of a better-known story, like maybe
Ghostbusters.
the Hungry Caterpillar.
The storyline from
Actually,
EastEnders
the Hungry
where Tiffany
Caterpillar
dies.
would have been quite a good story because it would have been remembering numbers.
Totally, yeah. Okay, I'll defend because Mr. WrestleTalk pointed out that I had the scatting in my thing, and that was me ad-libbing because I stumbled on the word statistician, and I was like, stat man, beep, and then just moved on. Like it wasn't like an actual point of the story.
No,
Always
I'm pretty
had you
sure I
down as a
remember
scat
correctly.
man,
Pete. You were
Pete.
like, this bit's important.
So in
line.
terms
Tripped
of
over
in
and you
terms of
styled it
things
into a dance.
that didn't
Yeah.
get through,
Yeah.
Christy Bethlehemi,
That's good.
It's such a good joke.
That is a good one.
Midian wife,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Renee Young's husband.
Were you keeping score?
No. I'm looking at my script now to see what you didn't remember because
I've done so badly. I
close.
need to point out everyone else's mistakes.
I got rid of Midian wife and Christy Bethlehemi.
The
I
donkey
did put in
shop
Renee
being-
Young's husband,
Being raided by Retribution.
and I had that.
Yeah, no, I didn't get that.
No, that didn't make it to me.
The
That's
actual
Ollie.
binary number.
Yeah, no. I mean, we're
and
not
the-
supposed to remember that.
And
Let's be
the
real.
terrible
I did.
voices and the terrible impressions of both. I mean,
Hey, one of them made it to me. I did a Vince.
I
yeah,
did
well,
the voices.
Vince, even if I didn't do a Vince impression, I think everyone else would have done a Vince impression because as soon as you hear Vince, you just go, "Well, what's the graveliest voice I can do?"
I did a rock solid Vince impression.
You did a very good Vince impression. It
Same
was
here.
very good.
Yeah, well, if
Same
people are in the market, I can do a Bible audiobook. I have a very good God.
It's quite long.
My Moses is my Moses is very good. And
that Star Wars Conquering the Universe book was well longer, like 27
Yeah.
hours. But I think the Bible might just peak it.
and my
What's longer, the Bible or the Tory Wilson book?
Feels
that
like the
Tory Wilson book. You know.
Just
it
goes
probably
on
took
forever.
long to finish.
Do you just know it as the Tory Wilson book?
Yeah,
Is
as-
that-
The one
Like
with
most of
Tory
the
Wilson
literary
on the
world
front
does.
cover.
do you call the
It's
Bible
a
the
big
Tory
apple
Wilson book?
takedown, isn't it?
my favorite bit. My favorite bit is Mr. WrestleTalk saying that's binary sequence was the only binary number he knew. Like he couldn't randomly come up with a collection of ones.
Well, I was gonna get just wrong numbers, so I was like, at least I could do one that I will get right every single time. So I'm gonna read it twice. I can at least say the same number, like twice over. Made sense to me.
Is that what calling
No, it made
spots is going to
perfect
become?
Mm.
Just us trying to make
binary. Yeah.
really long sequences of numbers.
Yes.
Bonacci code.
And then they recited pi. 3, 7, 4, 5.
Ollie, can you come up with an even better known story for your next one so that I feel less silly?
Better known than the nativity. Try.
There were these hobbits.
I'm currently reading.
The Hobbits could be quite good, you know, Shorty G. Who else is small on Raw?
Ricochet.
Wow.
Rey Mysterio.
Are you saying the Hobbit is better known than the Bible?
No, I'm saying
in
what is up
a
there?
1,000 years, that'll be the story that everyone remembers. But I think
That'll be our religion in 1,000 years.
I'm currently reading the Harry Potter series to my darling
Different
baby
book.
partner, and it's got to the point where she now knows all the voices before I said Dumbledore and stuff. And I was talking to Pete about this. Pete's not doing any of the voices for Michelle because he's doing the same thing.
They hurt my throat. What can I say?
What
Fine,
voices
but-
are you
Your
doing?
sex tape.
What's Dumbledore's voice? for
Said
you?
Harry.
Dumbledore is like a sort of like a slightly old man, calm old man. I need the book, otherwise I can't do it.
Say you're a
He
wizard,
needs
Harry.
20 minutes of preparation.
But Dumbledore doesn't say you're a wizard, Harry.
Do
That's
your vocal
Hagrid.
warm-up, Sandy.
It's really good that we're giving this one to the public and not saving it for the patrons. I just want-
Buttercup.
But yeah,
Everyone
I'm
deserves to hear this.
I'm sorry. Genuinely, I was sitting. It was my day off yesterday, and I was so anxious about this stupid story that I made cookies, and they turned out so bad that clearly I wasn't.
Is I
concentrating.
made cookies a euphemism for yourself.
I made cookies
I
in
was
my
so,
panties.
I was so anxious. I made.
Is that your Dumbledore voice?
I made
Yeah.
snickerdoodle
Yeah,
cookies.
Wizard Harry.
Pete, end the episode. It's been too long since we've had a
I put
morning
too much
meeting.
flour
and you
in
can
it, and
tell.
they came out like
Pete,
pussy.
pull the parachute. Pete,
We're
Pete.
just going to
Kill
the
it,
end.
Pete, end the episode.
Pete, kill it.
We're talking about ourselves.
So that was episode number 5 of Calling Spots, a narrative telephone game. If you want to watch the full watch along where we react to everybody's stories, then head on over to our Patreon page, patreon.com/WrestleTalk, and you can watch the full thing where we react to everyone's stories in order. It's really cool. Bonus content. Yay. You can pledge at any dollar amount you like. Could be $1. That's fine. And then you can watch the whole thing. It's great. Also, press the videos that just appeared on the screen to catch up with the latest partsFUNknown things, and subscribe here and enable notifications so you know when our latest videos go live. Calling Spots is going to be going up bi-weekly now, every Wednesday, swapping in and out with Quizzlemania, which is also every 2 weeks, so it would be 1 week Calling Spots, 1 week Quizzlemania. So yeah, that's the new schedule. Press the things, do the stuff, subscribe, bye!